So today we are going to talk about minerals. Minerals, I think, are something that are really kind of overlooked, I guess, and we think about them only being about the food we consume. Calcium, right, from milk is something we learned a lot about. Potassium from bananas, right? That's going to help with period cramps. We have these few foods that we think about that might have a specific mineral, or times where the doctor might say you need iron, right? But you guys know that I don't always take the mainstream conventional approach with a lot of these topics, and I'm really looking at a deeper level of how to use them for our health. And so minerals really come down to the health of our cells. And you'll see that it's not just about what we're consuming, but what is depleting those minerals. And so I'm going to have to talk about like not just some tips on how you can improve your mineral status, but give you guys a little more of an overview of like how I actually take people through healing their minerals, because I think that really helps like pull it together and get you excited about why you're eating the foods that you're eating. It's not just for the calories, it's also for the minerals. So, um, in my practice, I take people through this journey, and it has taken me years of my own trial and error, my own research, working with multiple different practitioners to better understand why this flow matters and why the order of what we're doing things really, really matters, especially in our world of social media where there's so many influencers giving information who are really held to no standard of credibility. Like they might be giving you good information, but it might be at the wrong point in your journey and it really just might not help. So this is, I think, just helpful to see, like if you are someone who's setting small health goals, that's amazing, right? That is my goal with this whole wellness program, is that you realize that you can set small health goals and that they will make a difference in your quality of life long term. The small little things do make a difference. So the very first phase is strengthening the body. Okay. A lot of people will start with fitness, right? That is a great place to start, to strengthen the body, strengthen the muscles, strengthen the blood, the bones, right? As well as nutrition. You guys know if you're not eating enough or you're eating the wrong types of foods, that you're probably going to feel different. So that, of course, then also brings in some of the mindset work around consistency, around how to eat well, how to like kind of create a lifestyle that allows you to rest and recover from those workouts, right? There's much that can go into building a stronger body, and that can, of course, be a lifelong journey. But I think that starting there is really helpful because you can do a lot of those kind of low-hanging fruit things that probably won't cost a lot of money, like sleep a little bit better, drink more water, right? Of course, some of those things do cost some money, but they're a lot more things that are habit based. Okay. Once our habits are a little bit more consistent, that is the time that I look deeper at the gut. Okay. So today, when we talk about minerals, we're really working on those first two phases. How do we help use minerals to help strengthen our body, strengthen our nervous system, have more focus, more energy, right? If you have better focus and energy, you're more likely to go for that walk later in the day. You're more likely to wake up in the morning and do a workout, whatever it is. You're more likely to feel happy while you're meal prepping your meals. That can get a little monotonous. And then also the gut is going to really influence how we actually absorb our minerals, as well as just symptoms we might have. We know that the gut and the brain are very connected. So when we're having more of a stress response, right, whether that's from a relationship or work, or we're in, grieving, anything like that, that actually will impact our gut and how our gut might use minerals. Okay. So once we have worked on those things, and again, these can be like a whole life journey. It's not that you just look at your gut health once and you never come back to it. Like things can change throughout the life. But when I work with people, this is the order in which I would be a little bit more focused. Okay. Then we may want to look at hormones. But generally, when we work on our physical body, we work on our gut, hormones become much less of a problem. But there is definitely a world of anti-aging medicine that is going to want to really optimize hormones and look at, okay, do we need to replace some estrogen as we go through menopause? Do we want to add some extra testosterone because we're not at an optimal level, especially in men? So, what I do is a little bit more of like an herbal approach to using hormones, especially in my younger populations. But I think that hormones are always the last thing to balance, okay? Um, and then I believe that that is really when we are tapping into an even more aligned life. It's again, not that you're not still working on having a well-balanced, happy life in all these phases. You totally are, right? But I find that when clients don't have like a lot of fatigue, a lot of symptoms, a lot of anxiety, then they're so much more likely to set bigger goals for themselves. So it's kind of the flow in which I'm always thinking about these conversations. Um, so hopefully that was helpful for a bit of an overview of the lens I'm coming from. So minerals. Minerals are these spark plugs, okay? They are these inorganic compounds that are found in our world and our food, as well as water, okay? They help our cells to create energy. Our body is also made of a lot of minerals. Okay. So that's, I think, something that's really cool is to think about, okay, we're just kind of giving our body back what it's made of so it can do its thing, right? A core belief of mine is that the body will heal itself when we get out of its way, when we get rid of the toxins or when we get rid of the energy leaks, the body is going to better heal itself. Okay. So, there are also things, like I said, in our world, like copper pipes, for example. If you have copper pipes in your home, you're more likely to get more copper in your water, which, depending on if your body needs copper or doesn't, could be good or bad. Same with like aluminum is more of like a heavy metal, but some of our cosmetic products will have aluminum in them. Um, okay, so as I said, mineral balance is more than just what we intake. Okay, it's more than just did you eat dairy today to get some calcium. It's also about our lifestyle. If you do more intense exercise, you have more sweating, you consume more alcohol, more smoking, those are things that could decrease your mineral levels or just kind of like deplete them, right? When we think of exercise, you're using more muscles, your heart is beating faster. All those processes are using up minerals and just cellular energy. Alcohol and smoking are something that your liver is then going to have to work a little bit harder to remove or detox. Detoxification is just a fancy word for removing from the body. Biological stress too, which might be connected to lifestyle or might be kind of in an unknown reason, right? A lot of women, if you were to test your inflammation in your blood around your period, it's going to be higher, especially if you're more symptomatic. I was just running from a conversation that's why I was late, with a friend who's a physical therapist, and she was like, yeah, I tested my period or my blood around my period and my CRP was 13. Like that looks like she has a severe chronic disease, but that's not the case. It was just her period was really inflaming her body. So things like that can cause some more mineral stress and use. Hormone imbalances, I said things that our liver has to process. And then also some different foods and nutrients just interact with each other. Okay, so this one is definitely more nuanced and is a conversation to have based on kind of your own symptoms and what you eat. But if you're, for example, more vegan and you eat a ton of fiber with phytates in it, it could potentially block and decrease your absorption of zinc and iron, which you already might consume a little bit less of. So that can sometimes be a reason we actually develop the iron deficiency. So I'm always looking for more understanding of like, again, why did the deficiency even develop in the first place? Things like tea too might block iron, oxalates might block calcium absorption. So these are very more nuanced to find. So I love to share about minerals because truly, truly, a few different changes have been very transformative for some of my clients who have had these very odd symptoms. I have a client, Taylor, who had in her 20s all of a sudden developed these weird things, teeth sensitivity, nerve tingling, intense bouts of anxiety, like kind of out of nowhere after college. And living a very like quote unquote healthy lifestyle, and magnesium. Magnesium was a game changer for her because that mineral acts in a whole bunch of reactions in our body, like over 500. So magnesium was also really helpful for another one of my clients who had really like a lot of struggles with sleep, and it also helped improve her weight loss. And then for me, I also had some issues with calcium, which I found with testing and less with kind of experimentation, but I'll talk a bit about testing that really helped me to kind of get my nervous system into a place where it felt a lot calmer and safer. So I had a lot of improvements with my skin healing journey from addressing minerals. So, and these are one piece of the puzzle, but they can really make a big difference, especially if we do the right testing to find them. And so I always do start with like looking at diet quality. Okay, so that's what your main homework will be, is to kind of do some basic diet quality assessment of like what minerals are you getting, how much of them, and is there some more that we could potentially add? Okay. Then we get into the weeds of testing and interpreting the right types of tests that can tell you, oh, you need more of this mineral. Okay. Regardless of how well you're eating, your body just doesn't have enough of this one right now. And so I always think of a nutrient deficiency or less than optimal number as kind of this like train track and train visual. Okay. So a train's going along, the tracks, it's moving well. Let's say that one of the train tracks is missing. Okay. That's a missing nutrient. Okay. That missing train track, when the train goes over it, it's going to impact the whole train. It's going to get more bumpy, right? That one little piece is going to impact a whole system. Okay. That's how a nutrient can be. And so if we can find the one that you actually need and repair that one, that can impact a lot of things in our body. We also, like I said, really want to support digestion with looking at our stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and just habits that help us to absorb and like not be so like eating so fast and not chewing our food, things like that. We want to make sure we're actually like sitting down, digesting our food well, we're having regular bowel movements, all of that. Okay, then we're going to look at our symptoms. Okay, that is the approach that we want to take. So, as I said, the gut is going to, we're going to kind of just review that. The gut is going to influence our mineral status. If we have a ton of inflammation in our gut, which a lot of people will ask me, how did I get this inflammation in my gut? How did I get the infection or bacterial overgrowth in my gut, like H. pylori or different things? And there's a lot of contributing factors. So that could be a whole other webinar. And I think it's so important to note that it doesn't always happen only in people who have gut symptoms. So, yeah, just if you're having these symptoms in your health, you're not feeling your best, you're unsure why some labs are off, the gut is always, always, always something I would recommend looking at once you've kind of gotten through the like physical body habits that you feel are realistic for you to implement. And we also, after we've kind of looked at the gut root causes, okay, what's going on in there? Is there the leaky gut, the infections? We really have to make sure our liver and our gallbladder are also working well and removing toxins well. We want to look for things like bloating. We want to look for like our stool patterns with that. We want to look for labs that might indicate poor liver health. The hair mineral testing can help us with that. Symptoms around like the menstrual cycle can tell us about the liver for sure. Skin symptoms, acne, things like that. So there are definitely some great herbal products that can gently support the liver and not be like a whole intense detox. And have a way to track, right? I think that if you are ever considering using supplements with me, we always want to make sure we are tracking things and we're not just like randomly taking something forever because that could throw things off worse. Okay, so your guys' homework for this month is to check out what foods in your diet have minerals. So I think I've talked about Chronometer before. There's a lot of food tracking apps out there that you can put your food into that will tell you the vitamin and mineral intake that day. I believe MyFitnessPal does a pretty good job of that as well. But I know Chronometer does a really, really great job of looking at your vitamin and mineral levels in the food and is a free app. So I would encourage you to put in at least 3 full days and look at, okay, how much of the daily value of potassium and calcium and iron and magnesium am I getting? And just kind of make note of that. Okay. Like I know you may not have a huge context of which ones you want to get. But if you're at way below the daily value in some of those, fiber is another one. It's not a mineral, but that you'll be able to look at. Sugar is another thing that I should have put on the slide of what can deplete minerals, but high sugar can definitely deplete magnesium. So that's another one to kind of check out your added sugar. I just think it's a great practice if you've never done that before. But I know some of you are already consistently doing that. So these are some of the top foods I selected that I do find myself recommending a lot. Getting organic dairy for sure. Any type of dairy is going to have good minerals, but I do prefer the organic. And for anyone struggling with inflammation, there is an A2 variety that could potentially help if you have a lot of gut inflammation from dairy. Some people just don't tolerate dairy super well, but a lot of my clients do, especially when we support the gut really well. Herbal teas can have great amounts of minerals. They can have some calcium as a dairy-free option. Beef liver, especially the food form, which there is a company that makes ground beef with some liver added in called Force of Nature. So even having that a few times a month can add some really good minerals in. It also has some vitamin A, which can help to regulate our copper and our iron levels. But I will say the capsules, I would have some caution, maybe have a conversation with me if those are right for you. There are some conditions, some autoimmune conditions where we want to avoid high doses of the capsules. Coconut water, I think, is a wonderful source of potassium for everybody, especially in the summer heat. Potatoes with the skin, especially if you don't mind having the skin. I know some people don't, and you're still going to get good minerals from the potato, but the skin is really, really rich too. And then beans too, making sure that if you're making beans from dried, you are soaking them before you cook them for, I think it's 12 hours is what's recommended. Just soak them in water. That can help break down one of the like main anti-nutrients that I mentioned. So phytates is what it's called. So those are some of my top favorite mineral foods to be having. When we're thinking about supplements, I did want to give you guys a few notes. I know I've talked a little bit about quality supplements in other sessions. And again, I think testing is a great option to really see what your body needs. But I also took supplements that I felt were really helpful in my journey for some time before I decided to do testing. And so I think a good quality multivitamin and a good quality multi-mineral is great. You don't necessarily always need to even do the full dose. You can start yourself low and maybe do a half of a dose. The reason I say both is because a lot of minerals will interact with each other. And so in a multivitamin, for example, if it has some magnesium in it, it probably isn't going to be super well absorbed. So you would want to take it separate. So as with, I mean, supplements, if you need brand recommendations, let me know. But there's a lot of really good ones out there from Pure Encapsulations. Silver Fern is a company I've been loving. Nordic Naturals, Quicksilver Scientific. So if you are curious about supplements and you want to get into my full script that I use to recommend supplements, please let me know, book a health audit with me, and we will chat about that. And then magnesium is another one that is really well tolerated and quite safe to take. It is still not something I would say everybody has to take magnesium. I think that's a blanket statement that isn't always true. But if you have trouble sleeping, have a lot of anxiety, you feel like your nervous system is in that fight or flight state, magnesium glycinate, 100, 200 milligrams, start there, start low, can always bump it up. Try that out. Magnesium citrate is the one that is better for constipation. It is going to be more of a diuretic, so do not take it if you don't need that, if you already have lots of bowel movements, okay? Those are some of my favorite options as you're getting started. Okay, so you guys, I hope you have a few takeaways from today to get working on. Any health change, health journey, I believe should have some mindset work. Coaching is also so helpful. I really do want to encourage you guys, if you've been considering doing some coaching or even just booking one call with me, to do it, okay? Even the best, healthiest people out there can benefit from having coaching to continue to feel their best and not let their own mind get in the way of feeling their best and most joyful self. having habit planning ahead of time and not just saying, I'm going to do all these things, right? Having an actual plan for a few months at a time and then resetting is something, again, that everybody I think benefits from because life is constantly changing and goals are constantly changing. Seasons are changing. Okay. Sometimes we need to just get back to the basics. Other times we can take on more. And then proper data interpretation. Okay. Looking at if it's labs from your PCP, if it's more functional labs, if it's your habits, your food tracking, being able to actually say, okay, here is some data and here's what it means for my vision, for my health and life, is another really important component. And something that, again, every single call is what I will be doing with clients. So, okay, planning on this slide. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, you can reach me through email, through social media, and send me all of your questions.